Y'all, sometimes you just get to do cool stuff. I got a chance to sit down and have a conversation with the Kevin Eastman about the upcoming sequel series to The Last Ronin. We talk about the current state of Turtles media, and guys, we even talk about his taste in music. So that'll be coming up here shortly. First, I want to introduce a new segment to y'all across the Turtleverse, where we cover the latest headlines from across Turtle media and talk about them. We're kicking things off with an announcement made just today at the time of this recording, made by Paramount Animation, that the partnership between Paramount and director Jeff Rowe has been continued. He has signed on for new live action and animated projects. For those of you that don't know, Jeff Rowe is the director of Mutant Mayhem. That video covering Mutant Mayhem still stands as the most popular video on the channel, but it was the first one that really kind of caught fire and caught the algorithm wave and all of that. And in that video, I talk about how watching Mutant Mayhem kind of rekindled something in me as a Turtles fan. Now, I talk about how it's an on-ramp for a brand new generation, and that not every single joke in that, not every single setting in that was made for somebody that's of my particular vintage or really, made for me. And that's totally cool. That's actually one of the things that I appreciate the most about Mutant Mayhem is this man went into a 40-year-old IP. Guys, we are at the 40-year mark that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have been around, and this man came in and was able to provide a brand new coat of paint for the Turtles. Just do something that has not been seen before and do it in a way that conveys the fact that this is a man that first and foremost wanted to make a good Turtles movie, and that was evident. And so to hear that he has signed on for both aspects of Turtles media has me stoked, because this is a guy who I really do believe, if given the right freedom, could absolutely finally create a live action Turtles movie that we haven't gotten since the year of our Lord 1990. Us Turtle fans of a particular vintage are ready for a quality live action Turtles movie. Guys, here's looking at you, Michael Bay. But seriously, I said what I said. Anyway, like whatever you like. It's fine. So this partnership is going to cover both aspects. And there's a quote here from the article that I thought was pretty cool. Jeff has been an instrumental force, an excellent partner in breathing new life into our iconic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise, says Ramsey Naito, the president of Paramount and Nickelodeon Animation Studios. So this is a big name saying this about the man. So going alongside this announcement, we have the announcement of the first movie that's going to fall under this new agreement between Rowe and Paramount, and that is the officially announced sequel of Mutant Mayhem. Kind of figured we were getting a sequel. I still stand by what I said in the Mutant Mayhem review, that this absolutely feels like it's going to be a trilogy. I could see them doing the cartoon longer, because we've also have announced that there's going to be a cartoon series set in this universe that tells some of the more episodic stories of them being in high school, all the while having a subplot that it sounds like is their plan is to have feed into the sequel. Obviously, it looks like we're getting Shredder in the sequel, but no official synopsis has been released as of yet. But as things develop, we will absolutely be covering that here on the channel. So next up, we have a breakdown of what the landscape of the Turtles comics is going to look like on the heels of the announcement that the continuity for IDW is resetting back to a new number one. This ongoing series that's been going on for over a decade now is coming to a close with issue 150, and we're getting a brand new number one this summer. In addition to that, it has been announced that we are going to get 4 new titles within the Turtles verse. Guys, I am stoked. This is a great time to be a shellhead. So, like I said, we're getting the new number one. That's already in the books. We know about it. In addition to that, the first up of the 4 announced titles is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Black, White, and Green. This is going to be a new anthology series that's going to feature a rotating cast of new writers and artists on every single issue. Longtime shellheads know that this is not the first time that the Turtles have seen this approach to creating one of the titles. And guys, that's where we got some of the most memorable, more isolated one-off type stories that have fueled several different iterations of TV series for years. So this is amazing news that we're going to have a brand new anthology that has the freedom to be able to tell new and different stories. Issue number 1 has been announced to drop May 8th. Next up, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Night Watcher. This ongoing series comes to us by way of writer Juni Ba. He is teaming up with artist Pharaoh Pei to create a spin-off series of the 2007 animated movie that saw Raphael use Nightwatcher as his vigilante alias when he did things solo. So we don't have a complete synopsis yet, but this screams Saturday morning action cartoon vibes, and I am here for it. Next up, we have TMNT Usagi Yojimbo Saturday Morning Adventures number 1. Guys, this looks like a love letter to fans of the 80s cartoons and the old Saturday morning style. So for those of you that don't know, Usagi Yojimbo is a rabbit from a different dimension who is a samurai that is dimension displaced because of one of Donnie's experiments gone awry. That's generally the accepted backstory for a team up between Usagi Yojimbo and the Turtles, and it's no different this time around. And so I expect for this to just be a fun romp with trying to get Usagi Yojimbo back to his correct time and dimension. Guys, next up, we've got Mutant Nation. This is going to be an ongoing series featuring an all-star combo. Guys, we've got Tom Waltz and Sophie Campbell. So Tom Waltz has written over 100 issues of the ongoing TMNT series and co-wrote Last Ronin. Sophie Campbell has written over 50 issues of the ongoing series. The idea here is that the IDW TMNT universe is chock filled with different, compelling, exciting characters that this ongoing series is going to bring to the forefront. They're bringing an array of mutants and other characters into the spotlight in this new addition to the TMNT universe. This, honestly, guys, seems like the perfect way to expand out this new setting, right? We're set in the IDW verse here, But Jason Aaron is absolutely going to bring a new setting, a new feel, and this is a perfect way to take what is a universe chock filled with different compelling characters and strong stories, strong characters with an array of different contexts that you get to really shuffle up the deck with what you're showcasing for this established universe. So, this one, issue number 1, is hitting shelves due in September. Next, we have TMNT Alpha number 1. It's going to be a one-shot that's featuring a story again by Tom Waltz, this time joined by Gavin Smith and Jason Aaron and Chris Burnham. This issue marks Jason Aaron's debut as a TMNT writer, since he'll also be writing the relaunch in July. This story is going to set the tone for the comics going forward. Guys, this is it. This is for DC fans, this is your Flash Rebirth number 1, setting the tone for what this universe is going to look like going forward. And guys, I am stoked for everything that's coming up in the comics. Speaking of, lastly, we have finally the launch of The Last Ronin number 2 Re-Evolution. The preview for number 1 is here and has dropped courtesy of IGN. Some of these panels, guys, that have been already shown, sets the tone for what's to come in this universe. Guys, this is one of the things that I get a chance that you'll hear shortly from Kevin Eastman himself about. But we have a continuation of this beautiful and tragic and new but somehow familiar universe of The Last Ronin, and we get to see a whole new set of turtles led by April O'Neil and her daughter, how they do in this new environment. And guys, this is set more than a decade after The Last Ronin has defeated the Foot Clan, and New York is in a steady state of decline. Desperate gangs, economic problems, political control, the whole 9 yards. It's just something entirely different, written by voices that intimately know the Turtles and what they're about, with art from Isaac Escorza, Asu Escorza, and Ben Bishop, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters by Sean Lee. These are men who know the Turtles well and are going to provide, I think, something that is going to be special. We asked for it. Guys, we even talk about a rumor that's been making the rounds that Zack Snyder might be interested in making a Last Ronin movie. I am here for it. Anyway, that's the news, guys. Now I give you Past Me with Kevin Eastman. Take it away. Ooh. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. There we go. Trying to get some of the glare off my glasses. There we go.
Yeah, I always joke that I've got the light of Jesus shining on my face because there's a window right there.
I know. Yeah, so I get the same. It's like, and it just sort of, we hit that time of day, and it's like, whoa. So
yeah.
Well, good to be here with you. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday, man. I'm glad that we have the opportunity to talk again. When we talked the last time, it was I was on a different show, but it was right when the last issue of Last Ronin was coming out, and it just this world that you guys created was just obviously did amazing response from critics and from fans and everybody else like that. And so as from today, what we're 5 days away from issue 1 of the sequel dropping. And
Crazy.
so yeah, so did you think having a hand creating in this world that's like, kind of the sequel to the original world, that it would blow up into its own thing?
That's no, because it's sort of one of those things that you go a bit on instinct, you go on instinct, I guess, really, because it was like the original idea when Pete and I came up with it back in 1987 of what this story, what we wanted to be set 30 years in the future. It was kind of like the end, if you would, the end of the Mirage series, meaning that all right, that's 30 years down the road. We've got a lighthouse to navigate towards. Never got to it. And then when, Tom and I were working, approaching issue 100, that was the same approach. It was like, well, where do we go from here? And then dusted this off and we fell in love with it and expanded it and adapted it. And then you do the best you can. You put it out there and just go. It's really up to the fans at that point. So we hoped it would sell at least as much as the original ongoing series was selling at the time. And the fact that it did that and went so much farther than we ever thought of it reminded me of, the response to the first issue of Turtles. It was like, holy smokes.
Yeah. So it's got to be a bit surreal having a hand developing the next generation of Turtles, assuming that this continues to do gangbusters and all of that. You've got a whole new set of Turtles for a whole new set of fans right in your hands.
Yeah, it's really, that was in part, there was two components of the subtitle to the series, which is Re-Evolution, because it really is, when you looked at the birth of, the original Turtles, it was really an accident, it was a comic book science, and it was an accident, and here they were, and the ooze went in the sewer, and the rat, just everything. And that's how the story was built and evolved from there. And then with the second series, it is very much more methodical, not only to the approach to the rebirth, like April engineering, mixing the blood and the mutagen and the things, and engineering the recreation. It's the re-evolution of them. It's much the same with the concept of bringing 4 new Turtles. Is who are they? What are they? What can we say with them? We don't want to wash, rinse, and repeat, so to speak, of the original. It's like, hey, here's the Turtles, and here, it's just the same old thing. You really want to take it to the next level, and it took us a long time, Tom and I, going back and forth of what the story could be, what we wanted to be, and hopefully, if we did our job, we're trying to write something that we love, and then hopefully that will radiate onto you all. So,
right. It's one of the coolest things is it so lives up to the thesis statement of what the Turtles really is. And it's a generational IP. It's one of those unique IPs where different generations get to have their version of the Turtles. And even though it's so steeped in the original Mirage universe, it is still something brand new for people to be able to latch onto.
It is very unique because, you think of like other characters that, I've certainly grown up with, Batman and, super, all the things and how they've evolved and changed and become different things to different people. But it is when it happens to your own co-creation, that when, I've had people that, it's like, hey, I remember reading a couple of Turtle comics back in the day, but everybody was telling me about Last Ronin. So I picked it up and holy smokes, I never, and I went back and got some issues. So it really reintroduced or introduced to some of the original audience, the Turtles again. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a writer, Paul Jenkins, a great guy. And he's written a lot of stuff for Marvel and things. And his son doesn't read many of his comic books, but he comes to the room when the Last Ronin came out, and his son and his friends were talking about this really cool new book called Last Ronin. And he was like, not only do I write comics too, but I know Kevin. And they go, you do? And he goes, yeah, you want me to call him? So, but it was just, so it's really hit on 2 levels. And that's what a wonderful surprise. What a wonderful treat that is, that it's done that. So.
I heard somewhere along the way that there was talk of Zack Snyder getting his hands on the Ronin universe, and that you would be open to that sort of thing. And as a fan, I was like, "Oh, yes, please!" And a double scoop, absolutely.
Absolutely. No, it's a big fan of Zach. I've get to meet with him a couple times over the years. We were actually many moons ago. He was gonna. He had some. He was interested in getting involved in a heavy metal anthology project we were doing that never came to fruition with Tim Miller and David Fincher and some other guys. But big fan of Zach's work, and he's been a longtime Turtle fan, and that would be pretty awesome. It'd be pretty great to see what he would do with it. So.
How does it feel to see that there's, in the current breath, such a diverse amount of tones to the different versions of Turtles? There's literally something for everybody. Something that's maybe a little bit darker. It's good. You've got the Ronin universe, and then you've got the Mutant Mayhem movie that just dropped. That was awesome. And the series coming out and all of that. How does that feel to see all of those different branches from this thing that you had a hand in creating in the first place?
It's fantastic, and and it's not something wholly into itself with the Turtles. Thinking, look at the different versions of Batman over the years. Even some of the original Turtles. At one point, we had, the Turtles cartoon on TV. We had the Turtles movies in theaters, which was somewhere in between the black and white comics and the cartoon series and the black and white comics. So we had this sort of always been different versions, and even so Peter Parker, Spider-Man. How many different Spider-Man books did you see at one time? So it's great that that we've had a hand in creating something, or co-creating something that could be applied to those and still work, and people could find different things in it. And that, to me, is more mind blowing than having a single idea that worked on its own as its own to that original fan base. That it's become generational, and it's become popular across different cultures and different people and different age groups. It's pretty. It's like,
Right. So I have to ask. I know you're also into the heavy metal world and into music and all of that. Mount Rushmore. Can you rattle off a couple of names as far as your favorites for the metal scene?
It's funny because I've always been a big fan of lots of different kinds of music, heavy metal music being one of them. And I remember that, say when I was growing up, I had my mom was into country and Western. My dad was, Allman Brothers, Led Zeppelin, Mozart. Then I sort of found that, and for a long time I was into sort of the, when you had bands like Hoodoo Gurus and Bodines and Smithereens and Del Fuego. A lot of these bands have always it's crazy the wide range of music, but it's when you think of the big hair, metal bands, nothing cooler than to be going in your car and just sort of like hear Paranoia, hear a song and then you go like, yeah, man, take you all the way back, and up into and even and they're certainly not new, but I love Metallica, that kind of stuff. It's just you get in the mood for it, and it just takes you all the way there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad we could do this.
Absolutely. Pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and let's talk again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Right, cheers, man. Cowabunga.
Yeah.
As they say, Cowabunga. Okay. Have a great weekend, man.
All right. You too, man.